Hello, and welcome back to another casted game on the Age of Bison YouTube channel, continuing in our 2v2 tournament. Today we have a British mirror going on, in which we have on one side for Team Fluffius, Britain by LopsidedFluff, and Malta with Nicius. Very excited to see these two working together and playing once again. And on the other side, MFD, who's another pretty big name in the community, going with the How to Know Shawnee, and McCleves, our resident-owned caster, also playing Britain. And here we have the map of New England, so that's going to feature a pretty tight trade post line. You got 4 TPs that you can take, all compacted there in the center of the map. Lots of natural resources, plenty of hunts, plenty of coin, and of course, an ever-bountiful water play. Lots of water going on here, so we'll definitely see that coming into place. And then the main map feature is going to be these 2 lakes, kind of making it difficult to kind of get across the map, set up your forward bases, and get a rush going. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams play it out. Early trade posts coming in right now. And I'm joined here by my co-caster, StephenSundin. Nice to see you here, friend. How's it going?
Well, hello. Doing quite well this lovely day.
And I was going to ask you, you've been brought in because of your, I guess, your sort of resident expertise on Britain, and I'm wondering, you know, I play a little bit of Britain myself. I'm more of a Howd guy. How do you expect to see a British mirror play out? I don't think we've seen it yet in this tournament in a 2v2 sense. So what are you expecting?
Yeah, so it's a bit interesting here with looking at our teams where we get Brit Malta and Brit Hod. So we're both looking at realistically heavy, 2 teams with both good heavy infantry here. So realistically, I'd expect to see some longbows flow out here and not a lot of cav play, given the fact that we're going to see, you know, a lot of answers to any hussars coming in from the Brits. So realistically, I expect to see a decent number of longbows here in addition to their musketeer play. And I would generally give the edge to whoever's including the musketeer and longbow combat cards. If anyone in here is going with their hussar cards for combat purposes, I'd actually give them a disadvantage here because we're not going to see a lot of hussmen realistically.
Okay, interesting.
So we'll see. We should see a decent amount of archers coming out here from the British players.
Got it. And, you know, we may end up expecting that Malta also with the deadly crossbows would be able to compensate for that, but I'll definitely agree. Heavy musketeer play. Let's take a look at the decks here. We're looking at the, I believe, LopsidedFluff's deck, and got a little bit of water cards in here. You got the siege archery like you were talking about. A little bit of huss play going on. Plenty of cav combat cards. So like you're saying, you're going to probably give disadvantage to that one. With McCleves, we're looking at very interesting. He's got some grenade cards in here, an H4, improved grenades, and a grenade launchers card. You don't really expect to see that. Economic upgrade cards, lots of resource shipments. So pretty similar decks, except hopefully we can see some grenades coming out from McCleves. Going over to Nicius right now, who's now aging up to H2, going up with the quartermaster, going to give that 400 wood. Plenty of water play here, and even Portuguese tongue. That's pretty interesting.
They also have the Zebek in there, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
So we can see the classic drop a frigate in one of the lakes here and get some good pot shots off during a battle.
It's going to be interesting. And then MFD going up right now. Wise Woman, interesting age up. Going to give him some resource crates there. Lots of economic cards early. Fish market. 3 Travaux, H3. Not a lot of H4 cards. So, but he's got those devastating light cannons, so hopefully we see those come out. Howd water start happening right here. He's got his dock going and 5 fishing boats already, and then fish market coming in. So early Howd water boom, pretty good play. Nicius has now finally gone up to H2. LopsidedFluff, I think I didn't see his age up option. What do you? That's governor.
He went up governor.
Okay, awesome. Outpost wagon. So I think we're immediately forward base here. Yeah. 2 hospitals on the part of Nicius, and you got the outpost.
Outpost, yeah. So we're gonna see a heavy H2 here coming out of.
How would you play it? Do you think you want to push the Howd side because you think maybe they're not as economically viable, or what do you think?
I would push Brits here. You want the Hod player, you're not going to be able to sever his eco at this point. If you're a player who's worth their salt right now, you know that Hods have gone water. You take a look at their deck, you see he's got water cards, you know he's going to start off with a dock. You're not going to be able to harm his eco. Whereas Brits right now are probably full water booming. I didn't see if McCleves here had Virginia Company and his deck is not.
I don't think he did, and I don't think he has any water cards either. No, not at all.
Oh, okay, yeah. I would very much press in on McCleves here because he doesn't get the benefit from Virginia Company, so he can't boom as effectively. He doesn't have Greenwich Mean Time in here, so he's not in a good position to FF either. So I would very much pressure Britain here because he has to get his houses up. He's not going to have a lot of eco until he can get that going, and he's going to be slower because he's omitting his good H1 cards.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting here because now we see Nicius going in with the crossbowmen, and you have LopsidedFluff with the musketeers, and MFD coming in with tomahawks, which are going to be that heavy infantry unit, and they're just going to be outclassed by these crossbowmen in this combination. And McCleves does have some musketeer coming in, but now what you're seeing is 2 heavy infantry versus a heavy infantry and light infantry combination. So I'm wondering if we're just going to see an early switch in composition, or exactly what's going to happen. I mean, you know, MFD could put out the Aena, and that would be a pretty good switch.
Yeah.
Villager going down there to LopsidedFluff.
They absolutely need to make a switch here. Got a Vill, that's nice.
2 Vills there early.
Ooh.
Pushing in pretty deep here. Born to take down this Explorer, or your War Chief, just because of the passive buff that he gives to the units. And already going down, and so loss of attack there. Early pressure here coming in. Crossbowmen from Nicius going ahead and kiting around, but this is a pretty significant tomahawk mass. Even if you have some light infantry that counter it, if you have enough numbers, you can definitely force the issue.
Yeah. With only 6 crossbow there, you do not have enough to take that mass.
Right. And I'm guessing, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but it also kind of comes down now. He's sitting in his settler cards, making more musketeers. Wignacourt coming in for Nicius is going to be pretty huge economic advantage. Going to get some Kanya MFD to try to counter those crossbow. But my question has been, you know that Britain loves these. Yeah, there they already come in. So they want to, it's kind of like you're on a timer to send these 2 in because you know those cards are really going to upgrade your musketeers to the point where they're basically H3 units. So shouldn't LopsidedFluff now have a significant advantage over McCleves, be able to take these fights with those 2 upgrade cards coming in now?
He absolutely should. Unless they start countering those musketeers with Aena or longbows or something along those lines, those musketeers are now classic.
Would you have opened longbow, or would you would you say, no, musketeer, just I'd rather have the all-around unit in this competition?
So are we talking about lopsided or are we talking about McCleves here?
Let's say, yeah, let's do McCleves first and then lopsided.
Yeah, with McCleves, I absolutely would be opening longbow here because as hero, pod, whatever you want to call them, they want to go tomahawk. So you absolutely want to get out your archers here. You need that light infantry. As far as lopsided goes, I would be going musketeer here, and that's indeed what you see because those crossbows are realistically better age 2 combat units than your longbowmen could ever be. They've got better micro abilities. They don't have to stay nearly as stationary as your longbows. You can actually get around and do a little bit of raiding. You can actually maneuver in a fight. So their composition here is far better suited for this.
And we're seeing that on display right now as Nicius continues to move back and forth, and LopsidedFluff taking heavy casualties, but it does not matter. Nicius is just continuing to be content to not only sniping some Vills, but moving back and forth and absolutely wiping that tomahawk mass. Only a few more left. I'm wondering how MFD is going to respond. McCleves is now going to be outclassed, and here's some Aena coming down.
We've got a bit of a raid going over on the lopsided side. So back in his base, it looks like those Kanya went in.
Right, taking down a house pretty cheekily. Just kind of.
I think he picked off a couple Vills in there.
Trying to get some pressure off.
Yeah.
Now another thing to think about in terms of Britain. Oh wait, hold on a second. Oh, Kanya getting right on top of these. Oh, and backing off. LopsidedFluff does have just enough musketeers to make those Kanya think twice about what they're doing, and he still has a bit of this raid going on, and I don't know if he's really watching if he's sieging this TC right now. when he could have been grabbing those vills. But it's hard to kind of maintain everything. And now LopsidedFluff sending in some musketeers. One of the things that I was going to point out though is that it's also Britain has both its benefit and its, I guess, detraction is the fact of its boom. Like, I think that a lot of players would struggle, like, because you have to really maintain and try to contain its economic advantage, because you have a lot of villagers coming out at the same time as you're producing units, and you're trying to push your opponent, right? So then looking at this, it looks like LopsidedFluff at 36 versus McCleves 46. It's a pretty significant advantage there, 10 vills, and he's doing really well to lean into the economic edge that Britain has, because you just say, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to extend the game, doesn't bother me one bit, I'm willing to sit back and just kind of boom.
Yep. It is a double-edged sword with Britain, because you have to be able to claim that territory, and you have to have space, because you'll get up to your villager cap really fast, but at the same time you're going to burn through your hunts like there's no tomorrow. So you're dealing with a situation where if you sit back and you have the space to breathe, you're really going to be able to pull off a boom. But if you have an enemy who's suffocating you with a wet blanket, you might have 70 villagers, but you can't go anywhere because all your hunts have run out, so you can't make your 75 food musketeers anymore, which is your main dependency.
Right. Now, interestingly enough, sorry to cut you off, but we do see some Hussar play, like kind of what you were talking about. I just wanted to loop back to what you were mentioning before. McCleves is now going Hussar, whereas LopsidedFluff is going to continue to monocomp here. And in terms of Nicius, also continuing to monocomp versus MFD, now going up with a surprise H3 with the Chief.
Ooh.
Just going to get some villagers. A lot of musketeer here, but he does have Aina, and I know he has some Kanya hidden around somewhere here. So now you have the Kanya plus Hussar play coming in to try to deal with this crossbowman mass. And I guess that's just a necessity at this point, because this is significant at this point.
Yeah, it's a huge mass, but we're dealing with 5 Kanya here and maybe 5 Huss as well. That's not nearly enough to deal with 51 crossbows.
51 will plus 29 HP, because as we know, 2% HP every single time they send in a card. Now these trying to get the switch off, trying to turn it around. Hussar and Kanya trying to get in there, but nope, successful move. Musketeers now are going to get chewed up by this Aina, but that's worth it, because obviously in terms of resource count, the cavalry are going to be more expensive. Crossbow are going to get on top of these musketeers as well. And this looks like it's going to be still, like, honestly, these crossbows seem to be carrying the game. Look at all the losses there. Oh my goodness. 4 at a time.
Normally your response would be to this that Britain would need to go to 3 for falconets. But when you're dealing with that massive crossbows, it can actually take a fight with falcons now. This is when it gets scary. When you're sitting on 30, 40, 50 crossbows, at that point, that mass is now really dangerous against your 2 falc shipment.
Right. No, I agree. And the answer is either more falcs or just you start cavalry monocomping at that point. And it looks like we do have a little bit of a raid here on McCleves' part. He is able to get a villager. LopsidedFluff pulling out his whole eco. And I think, unfortunately, they don't have the mass to push. I feel like when you raid, you want to raid at the same time as you're pushing. Mm-hmm. Because then you are basically giving yourself an economic advantage in that moment, as they cannot replace their losses as easily because you've idled their economy. But it looks here that it just seems more like just trying to get a cheeky raid and trying to get some vills out of the way.
I mean, it goes back to that aspect of the wet blanket. Like, if you're able to shove them back in their TC, that is a loss there. Like, even if you don't pick any off. But you do absolutely, like you're saying, you want this to go on while there's a battle. Like, whether or not it's in their base, it's obviously most preferential if you're in their base. You shove there, get all of them off the water, or not off the water, get them all off of resources. They can't produce can't produce units anymore. That's when you're best suited for that. But you will always want to, the rating's best suited when your time is going to be split up, when your attention's going to be split. You've got pings going across the map. That's the best time to do it. So going in there with those 5 Huss and forcing that idle time is great. but it's way better if you're timing that with a battle as well.
This is a pretty big loss here. Speaking about raids, is Nicius coming in with the 2 galleys, and absolutely no naval shipments here to counter this. I mean, just completely shifted the water eco against Howd, which was really what they were relying on. If we're looking at MFD, 12 idols, and I'm imagining, you know, that's all in the dock after losing just a few. Building a war hut there now, and he's going Forest Prowler here. I'm not sure if Forest Prowler is really going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Maltese crossbow. I don't know if you know much about, if you play a lot of...
They have the edge as far as range goes, and memory serves they're the same speed, both at 4. So we're looking at 4 speed for Forest Prowlers.
That's the stats
range.
there, 23.
Versus our combat is for the X-Bow. Same speed with 16, yeah. So you're able to kite better than them crossbows, but because you don't have that, you don't have a real speed bonus here, it's far less of an advantage. So if you were to be stationary in a face-off, then yes, the Forest Prowlers would win. But that's not what we're gonna see.
Right.
And those Kanya running right past those Hussars.
That's rough. And these quick order Hussar raid on the part of Nicius, kind of unexpected considering he was producing so many crossbow, but he was able to get the order Hussar out. And now we just see some lull in the action here, as I think, yes, McCleves went up to 3. LopsidedFluff still aging with the bishop. McCleves, I believe, also went up with the bishop.
So they both would have gotten that lovely.
Oh, did he not?
No.
I don't think he did, actually.
Did he go up with adventure for longbow? No, he didn't do that. I didn't catch it.
Well, whatever he did go up with, he is now sending in even more Muskren combat cards. The thing is that I'm not seeing the Grenadier play. I was expecting. I think honestly, if it were me, I would say Grenadiers would probably be a better pick than Hussar.
Yes, I would absolutely agree. If you wanted to throw in some other units here, going for that Grenadier play is what you would want to do. The thing is, it's hard to pull off with the Grenadier switch because you do have to get those cards and you really want your advanced arsenal in. But you do it and they mix in with your Musketeers, which means you can't micro against them nearly as well.
Right.
And it's an absolutely devastating combination if you get that mixed together.
Yes. And they'll counter the heavy infantry and kind of light infantry because they do have range resistance. He was able to save that cover wagon on the part of Nicius, who did go up with the bishop, and now he's also sending steel bolts, such a devastating card. And at this point, MFD is basically sporting truly a 3-unit composition, not as common in team games. Elite Musket Riders, Forest Prowler, Aina, which is your 2 light infantry. He's got ranged cavalry and now melee cavalry with the Kanya.
Wow, he's gone for a very wide number there.
Here we go, pushing on.
I would really love to see the grenade launchers out here, because once you throw the grenade launchers onto those grenadiers, you can take it. You can take light infantry at that point.
Oh, absolutely.
Without significant losses.
2 Falconets here on the part of LopsidedFluff, being the shipment for H3 that he's choosing to go with. Crossbows just trying to get onto those Musketeers. Here come the Kanya coming in. It's going to be tough because he's got these hospitals he's using to block the Falconets, and he's got the Musketeers standing on either side. Oh, my goodness.
They can't get on those.
Oh, but look at this.
Oh, no.
Veteran Hussar coming in for McCleves, and they do get 1 Falconet, and this is a huge fight here. They're just clashing. Forest Prowlers are just going to stand right there and just absolutely take it and just try to get into it. Hussar getting on, but only, like you said, only a few of them getting on top of here, and it's not going to be enough. These crossbows are just going to be able to mow them down. Still 1 Falconet. Now the last one's going down, and they're just trading blows here over this forward post.
Those 2 Falconets got so much value there, though.
Oh, absolutely. But the big thing is that they're fighting under their base. So reinforcements are going to be right there, and they're here trading blows. And they're just trying to cull that mass, but the problem is that they'll just, I mean, the Forest Prowlers are performing well, but they just have the reinforcements right here, and they probably need, and again, Grenadiers probably would have been fantastic here because of the AoE damage. All of that would have been bunched together, and then obviously an improved siege for you to be able to take down at least a couple of barracks.
And since that was a stationary battle, you're not getting the advantage out of bonus range from the forest prowlers. So that was a big fight, and while it drained resources from both sides, I would say that was definitely a victory over to the Fluffius side.
Bit rough to see here. I mean, we're still maintaining this veteran crossbowman mass. Even more now, schooners coming in, so I'm guessing, yep, Nicius going for the water play, and look at that. Insult to injury, 2 caravels, 2 order galleys, and basically just owning the water play at this point. I mean, they do have 1 caravel, but there's no need to push because there's no fishing boats on that side, and so now Nicius completely controls the water. Expecting him to take full advantage of that in terms of his resource count.
So interestingly, McCleves has taken the Huron site up to the north. So I don't know what he's intending to do with that. Where is he? This
it's Cherokee. Getting some upgrades.
Okay, if it's Cherokee, that's worth it actually, because he just went for the 4 villager tech.
Even more musketeers being produced from McCleves as we have a little bit of a lull. Musketeer sneaking into the middle of the space, getting some villagers out of the way. MFD, 51 villagers, but still, how'd Eco just kind of lags behind you. Although MFD has done fantastic this game, and he's been producing vills. And funny enough, he's leading LopsidedFluff and vill count. Kind of odd for Britain to be losing in terms of vill count.
Oh, we have a fixed gun now. So realistically, that choke point's walled off now.
Yeah, they're going to need Colv in order to handle that. Taking out a trade post here. Nicius still committing to that water play. Now that will drag a little bit of his resources away from his crossbowmen, but he is not lacking for wood, and it looks like he's going to go ahead and re-macro right now with 30 vills on wood. Musketeers here pushing into McCleves' space as he's getting another TC to go up right now. Gonna go toe-to-toe. And these are about even. 225. Yeah, exactly the same units here going at it. The only difference is that McCleves has I believe, a numbers advantage here. 52 to 50.
And we have advanced arsenal coming in for McCleves, I think, at this point.
Yes.
So that'll give him a speed boost and some nice bonuses there.
Forest pilots are not going to be able to siege down that fixed gun.
No.
Here we go, McCleves using his musketeer mask, going to continue to press this advantage, trying to get into the LopsidedFluff space here. Taking a villager out with him and still trading blows, and hopefully this will kind of change the tone so far after that one large fight. It's going to take a little bit of a while for Nicius to move his forces. MFD needs to be pushing now into this. He's got the advantage here with the forest prowlers. He can easily take out this musketeer mass, but I don't know exactly how long they survived the fixed gun.
Yeah, I don't know if Kanya get a significant bonus against fixed guns. That's interesting. Oh, if those villagers... They went for
that's rough.
A couple gold and died.
But as you were mentioning earlier, it's so difficult considering that Britain needs to be able to exhibit map control because of the resource sink of having so many settlers early on in the game and that boom that they naturally get.
Yep.
You know, you see how quickly he is now resorting to mills. Now, I mean, 25 minutes in the game, eventually things start to maneuver out of the way, but you know, all the hunts basically in the center of the map just completely wiped out at this point.
Yeah, this is the struggle point for Britain, because you've exhausted your in-base coin, you've exhausted your in-base food, you have to make your switch over right now. And this is really unfortunate timing because you're stuck in Age 3 right now, so you're not going to be able to get estates out. Or even if you do, you're dealing with very low rate estates. So he's you can see he's got 2 on coin right now. He's actually had to build his tavern just to get coin triple.
Yeah, it's rough. And now McCleves is, maybe because of that resource switch or maybe because of the composition, but he is now going longbow, kind of like what you were talking about earlier. And once again, more falconets coming out on the part of LopsidedFluff. 3 of them here, wasn't able to get a full batch, and those are going to unlimber and immediately start going to work on these villagers. I'm wondering how MFD is going to respond. I don't know if he has the mass to really do any significant damage to this. And look at these guys. Look how quick this TC is going down. Insane. These guys are so strong. We saw that in the Platypus game, 1v1. Who, against Aztecs, I forget who he was playing against, was, I mean, the Arbalesters H4 was just insane. Right now, these are just H3 with cards. Musket Riders going ahead and going to work, taking out those 2 Falconets very quickly. Good job on MFD's part for the micro, and the Force Prowlers are now going to sit back and go to work on these Musketeers. Crossbowman mass is still going to do what it can. And kind of like, you're kind of a prophet here, StephenSundin, in that you were talking about we need to push McCleves, you need to push McCleves, and here they go.
Yeah. The British player here is the one you want to focus on. Less so now, given the fact that they forced them off of water. Now you can push both in either direction. You're in a situation here now where if you're on Fluff and Nicius' side, like if you look at the scores, they're roughly even right now. But if you look at the map, you've got them boxed into a corner. You have the trade line, you have the entire water mass, you have 2/3 of the land. If you can just sit back, play it safe, and suffocate them.
Yep. I wonder how much these teams are communicating, because at this point we have a dedication of Forest Prowlers on the part of MFD. And now McCleves is having to, and I think it's just because of the resources. I mean, he's not producing any sort of coin.
Yeah, his entire coin eco right now is the tavern.
And
That's
now he has got,
not a great place to be.
and now he's having to dedicate to the longbow, and that's a struggle, considering that's 2 light infantry units. Now again, he is going up against musketeers and crossbowmen, but at any point that can switch, because now you see some mortar hussar on the part of Nicius, who, I mean, his economy must just be taking off at this point. 94 vills already, and you can just see these numbers skyrocketing just because of this water boom is insane.
He's taking full advantage at this point. He's got his 2 trade posts on wood, so he is just, it's just pouring in from a eco perspective. He's got Wignacourt, so he's getting that 30% boost on top of all of that natural res gathering. So he's really taking off here.
And he's already going H4 with people guard. He's gonna give I think that's free upgrade for archaic infantry.
I believe so.
Musketeer longbow combo. And I think he's still stuck on just a... I'm wondering if he... I mean, you want to produce units, but I feel like he needed to get his estates out. And I'm still going to harp about these Grenadiers, because he has these cards. Yeah. There's a coin gathering card, 1,000 coin here. Yet to be sent in.
Oh. Feels like he's trying to save that 1,000 coin to push him to H4, but at this point, you're not going to be able to do that.
MFD making some canoes here. Maybe try to contest the water play. See if he can knock Nicius eco down a peg. But here they go for the push. Some villagers going down. These crossbowmen are now arbalesters. 226 health. Insane. More than musketeers. Yeah, 30 to 19 range. And I mean, these musketeers.
Their 19 range is now roughly put one to the forest prowlers.
Yep.
We're sitting at 20.
Who are 154 health. So, I mean, it's not really...
You need 2 attack.
Yeah, it's not even really a contest at that point. Honestly, these crossbowmen are just going to roll over. The only thing... You would need a massive curse here to handle this, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's TC going down. And LopsidedFluff is just kind of here on the side. And I mean, that's all well and good for him because these crossbows are just gonna do their thing.
Let's see if MFD starts putting out light cannon at this point, because
He did get his H4.
yeah, he's H4, and that's realistically the only answer here.
There is a, I think he went H4 Messenger, though. So I think the issue is that he didn't get the shipment of light cannon from the H4 that you would get from, I think, the Warrior. And so he's waiting on the shipment of 4 light cannon. So typically, how do you want to go Warrior for 2, and then you get 4 light cannon shipments, so you end up with 6 right when you get to H4.
Which is a lethal mass.
Yeah, I mean, they're content to just sit here. I mean, obviously, these longbowmen are going to work. I mean, 2026, yeah. I mean, that's impressive. That's very strong for an H3 unit. I didn't realize longbowmen were hit that hard. And so the crossbowman mass is going to be culled a little bit. But again, like I said, this is a double light infantry composition, and now you're starting to see the Hussar switch. He does have some musketeer left.
Yeah.
But not enough, I don't think.
And this is where those Huss cards are actually useful, because your opponents aren't invested in heavy infantry right now, so you can absolutely clean up here. And now that 4 light cannon shipment is a liability, because you have only light infantry on the field right now, and now you've got 4 cannon, and your opponent has now gone into cap.
Right. These Order Hussar are just absolutely cleaning up just a small batch of them, and they've just been on a tear at this point. MFD has absolutely no protection for these light cannons, who have not been able to get on top of these crossbowmen. Longbows are still trying to do what they can, but they were just now dealing with the Hussar mass, and his musketeers are dwindling. And I don't know if McCleves, he is still not producing any sort of coins. So, I mean, he's all in on the longbow. And it's not looking very good. Lopsided Fluff here now coming in with, I believe, 10 Hussar sneaking in past this manor house. Not even really sneaking, just trying to fit through this manor house. And there he goes, getting on top of the longbowmen. And look at that, Order Hussar now
and
on.
Those Order Hussar took out all 4 light cannon.
And now on top of the
entire shipment gone.
That's rough, and they didn't even get to see any sort of action.
Yeah, this is rough at this point.
MFD once again still just making more and more Forest Prowler. But I mean, you can't make Musket Rider because you got a crossbowman mass right in front of you. So how are you gonna counter the Cavs? See, look at this point, like he's got champion Musket Riders there, just gonna and there they go, gone immediately. Taking a look at Nicius. Even more Order Hussar coming out. And I believe he has and he's just got a forward base just sitting right here. Commandery and what, 5 hospitals? Just streams of crossbowmen flooding into McCleves' base. And McCleves is throwing in the towel and just calling it that is the GG. Each calling it GG, but it looks like MFD is still kind of fighting it out a little bit.
MFD's trying to get his lost hurrah out here.
Trying to pad the stats.
Let's see if he can get that KD up a little bit.
Yep, and these Order Hussar are just going to work on vills that are just content to just stand and die where they are, and I mean, there's no way he's going to do a 2v1 here, so. And there it is. And finally, the GG is called. And so that win goes to Fluffius. So, I don't know, initial thoughts? What are you thinking?
So we had some good back and forths there. And I actually believe that from a general performance at the opening of the game that we saw a better operation from the MFD and McCleves side. But their fatal error there was not switching out from the double heavy infantry, because that crossbow mass was able to deal with that very effectively. If they had made that switch into Grenadiers or had made a switch into Anna or something along those lines to complement, you had been able to go toe to toe and take more of an advantage there. Because after that push into the pod base failed, they came out and had a great push. Were starting to contest that. They were contesting that forward base, and if they had something more substantial there. What this was the H2 push where they were coming out before the Forest Prowlers. If they had had more of an light infantry presence there, they would have been able to have dealt with those crossbows. So I think it was a well played game by both sides. It was a good opening on water from McCleves to go for, or MFD I should say, for Hod, and a good counter by Nicius there to take water. And I believe it was the correct decision by MFD at that point to not contest water because you don't want to sink res into it anymore at that point. So I think those were good decisions by both teams on water. And I think it really just comes down to that the early play, they weren't able to take advantage of that failed push in, and because they didn't have that light infantry to counter. And at that point, it was Brit versus Brit, and who had now properly contained Lopsided Fluff as a British player.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. There was that turning moment, and then you also had the other moment where they're fighting right under the forward base, trading blows. That was a huge momentum shift. I felt like, the water play was a huge momentum shift, and maybe McCleves not having any sort of, any significant water cards in the deck to kind of anticipate, because that Nicius typically goes for water play in this tournament. Not anticipating that was a bit rough, and I'm gonna stick to it. I think I wanted to see the Grenadiers come out. I really think that. I think that people shy away from them just because of the high res cost, perhaps, or maybe the population or whatever it may be, and they think to themselves, "Well, I'd rather have artillery than Grenadiers." And I'm like, I don't know. We may be returning to a Grenadier meta because we are now in a meta where everybody goes some form of light infantry with a ranged cavalry option baked into the cake. And people are not expecting Grenadiers to come out because they're going to be able to fight it out and then complement your heavy infantry mass. And as long as you can micro it well enough, and then your heavy infantry mass will cover the cavalry. So I feel like they're kind of the way for us to kind of break up the existing unit composition meta that we have in this game, this kind of weird gentleman's agreement. I don't know, when you're on the ladder, right? It's like, imagine if you're playing like a, France, Dutch, or, if you're talking even Spain or, there's so many civs out there that, you're going to go for some kind of skirm goon combo. And so it's a sort of gentleman's agreement that's how it's supposed to go. But I think grenades is, especially when you already have the cards in your deck for that, why not take advantage? But I understand that there was a difficulty with the resources. Team Fluffius was able to exhibit such a great degree of map control. That's what Malta is known for. See these commanderies here in the front, the fixed gun, that forward base, and they were just kind of able to twist the arm and force Britain not to be able to take advantage of the middle map hunts. And like you said, once those hunts go out, Britain better be ready to transition.
I completely agree with you. Grenadiers would have been a magnificent play here if they had, instead of going for Tomahawk and Musket, had gone for a Tomahawk Grenadier opening in Age 2. Believe it or not, go for it in Age 2.
Oh, yeah.
Because at that point, you are dealing with an equivalent range with your Grenadiers versus those crossbows, and you have the AoE coming off of those Grenadiers. And this goes way back in TAD times for me, but I actually won games doing Grenadier rushes as Britain, where you skip the Musketeers entirely, is you're expecting your opponent to go typically for heavy infantry, even back in TAD days. So you open up with, those Grenadiers, you walk in with heavy siege, range, and countering those heavy infantry. And you just clean up. And
Yeah.
I won games for that. And I think that potential still exists. It's for years and years and years and years now, Grenadiers have been kind of poo-pooed on because they don't have a breakout performance. We haven't seen any games where people identify like, hey, the Grenadier play really won that. But it's really there. And I think if they had opened with those Grenadiers in H2 and he had gone, now this is what I would call a good gamble here, and a hot take is he should have gone logistician opening here from Britain.
Yeah.
Because after the logistician change, what was about a year ago, it switched from you get a longbowman with every manor house to you get an arsenal in age 2 and a free tech. And you do that with your incendiary grenades in age 2 with the grenadier play in this team situation. You're dealing with pretty lethal grenadiers with a pretty good musketeer unit with the tomahawks. So I think that would have been a magnificent play here.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, and I agree. But hindsight is 2020, and we have the advantage of being able to cast over it and look over past successes and mistakes. But thank you for both of these teams for letting us look over the game, pick it over, and cast over it. Both amazing showings. Both these teams, every single individual player would absolutely torch me in the 1v1 ladder. So absolutely no hard feelings. If you're enjoying the content that we're putting out here and you like the cast of games that we're making here at the Age of Bison YouTube channel, please feel free to hit a like and subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think. And also we will have the Discord link if you'd like to join up and join us for any of the next tournaments that we have going on in-house. We have a fantastic community of players for Age of Empires 3, as well as other games. And so if you'd like to stop on over and kind of converse with us, talk about build orders, and just kind of improve your play, please do so. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next one.